Welcome to Golden Mastermind Seminars Radio with your host, Jeffery Combs.
Good afternoon, everyone. Jeffery Combs, President and Founder, Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. Good to be here with you on Tuesday. Breathe, release, and let go. The cause of being dependent. The cause that creates the effect, the events that shape the feelings. Unresolved events. Dependency is what codependency is. It means that there is a dependency on someone else. You're dependent, and you're dependent upon the government, or you're dependent upon alcohol, or you're dependent on credit. And that's what the topic for today's Facebook Live is. Heather, good to see you. You are first on the call. You and Sarah, good to see both of you this afternoon. It is a beautiful day in Northern California, and wherever you are, I pray for you. It's not raining, and it's a beautiful day for you as we move closer and closer to summer, the year of our Lord 2023. Topic for today's Facebook Live is the cause of dependency. So when you are dependent, you're dependent upon a husband, dependent upon a wife, dependent upon the government, you are not independent. And that's a lot of what you're seeing going on in the last 3 moving into 4 years of what is going on. There's a lot of dependency. A lot of people became dependent upon the government, and they become dependent upon what they listen to. And they're dependent on CNN and other social media sites. And then there's the other side of the coin, and the other side of the population is learning to be more independent. This is why you see people who are homeschooling. They're taking matters into their hands, and they're stepping up in their consciousness and becoming more independent. You'll see more and more people starting small businesses from the comfort of their home, buying products at different stores. I'm watching a lot of people who are not buying from big box stores. They're not buying from name brands. And you've seen just in the last month, a certain spokesperson that a large percent of the population is rebelling against. There's a beer and a shoe company, and then there's a kitchen company that's using a specific spokesperson that many people are not going to be dependent on these brands in these stores anymore because they have reached a place where the pain is great enough. And when the pain is great enough, these are areas where we tend to let go of our dependencies. I was once upon a time dependent upon alcohol. I was also a rescuer in my intimate relationships. I was dependent on fixing other people up in certain situations of my life. And that dependency is a force-counter-force situation. It creates conflict, drama, and chaos. And I have had times where I'm dependent upon that drama, dependent upon that chaos. And the independent component is called letting go. When you are letting go, you're not dependent on the payoff. The payoff, which I cover at my events called Millionaire Blueprint and on my Facebook Lives, is where we recreate the same situation to fulfill the same feeling, and we become dependent upon that feeling. Even though the ego goes, well, that's crazy, that's stupid, why would I do this? You would do it because you've created a neurochemical dependency. It's called a payoff. And that payoff keeps you, whoever you are, avoiding being your best self. It keeps you avoiding being successful. It keeps you avoiding the responsibility of letting go, the responsibility of changing. On a really core belief, it's important that you believe that you're good enough. And when you're good enough, you're not dependent upon anyone. And there are many people who go, it's sad, I don't get along with my parents, or it's sad. And it's not sad, it's real. And that real word, real, requires honesty. And the honesty is what allows you to move into independency. And independency in this context is power. So Matt says, healing affirmations. I'm always letting go of trauma-based identities built from unresolved pain. Thank you very much, Matt. That is great content. Sarah says, I am more than good enough. Feel free to post an affirmation if you would like to right here as I am delivering the content. So the cause that creates the effect. When you're a child, there's a high probability that somewhere in that childhood, some or many of you became codependent. You were put in a position where you lost your identity. You lost your innocence, and you became you became codependent and someone else became dependent upon you. You may have had to step up and be a parent for other children in your family, or you became a parent to your parent, and you had a parent who used you as a confidant, or they used you as a mentor, or they used you as a sounding board, and they were telling you, whispering in your ear about your father, your mother, or the other children, or a multitude of situations, and it becomes overwhelming for a child. And then other people become dependent upon us. I coach an exceptional man whose mother had alcohol challenges, other challenges, and then it led to being institutionalized. He became, at 11 years old, the father of the family. And then eventually his father leaves the family. Now by 15, he becomes the father of the family, which sets him up to have dysfunctional relationships the rest of his life. He finds me at 58 years old. I start giving him insight and wisdom on what it means to be codependent and also a chronic debtor. And he's now clean and sober, going on 2 years from this situation. We all can be and do these situations. We can let go of being dependent upon alcohol, dependent upon credit. We can let go of being dependent. This is a good one. Pharmaceutical medication. This is a very challenging one for a large percent of the population because of the seduction. We are led to believe by a certain community that these situations, these red pills and blue pills, are going to fix us. And we're led to believe that if we use this concoction and this concoction, that somehow, mythically, magically, it's going to be the right elixir. And if this one doesn't work, if this one makes you crazy, then we'll use this one and you'll be a little less crazy. And these are the people we learn to depend on. We learn to trust these people, and we depended on these people. Well, adios, chief. This ain't the same story anymore. A lot of you, me, a lot of us are becoming less dependent on other people. We're becoming more dependent upon each other. We're starting to collect our own tribe, our own groups, our own cultures. And that's what's so important. Like the 12-step programs, they teach that being independent, and it's a great place for you to learn some of that in the 12-step programs. It's amazing if you allow yourself to step into those programs and really understand that there is another side of being an addict. I couldn't see that for years. I was relegated to being dependent upon vodka, and I couldn't see myself living without vodka. Happy hour. But I had become so dependent on it that I was sneaking it, hiding it, buying it in multiple places, and virtually lost all sense of self, identity, self-esteem, and ended up at rock bottom. It's a very common story. It's not unique. Many of us have hit rock bottom, and that place is called The Pain Is Great Enough. It's a very overrated place to gain your independence. Although if you have been there before, you don't require going back there. Once is enough. You don't require a lot of experience on rock bottom, and you don't require rock bottom. What you require is the skill of letting go. Letting go is your ability to separate your feelings. That means that you're not dependent upon these feelings anymore. You're not dependent on being anxious, in fear, and doubt. You can let go of your anger, your resentment, your hate, your rage, your abandonment issues, your rejection, feelings of being rejected, being overwhelmed, guilt, shame, pride, and apathy, and grief. These are all emotions that comprise the neurological network of neurons that wire and fire that form the feelings of anxiety, fear, and doubt. Most people are dependent upon those feelings. They live in those feelings. They stuff those feelings with food, with debt, with drugs, with alcohol, and then they avoid life. They avoid production, avoid cleaning out their garage, avoid taxes, and become chronic avoiders. Many of these people join your teams, your cultures, and you'll see that many of them are so overwhelmed that they can't produce and perform. And if you've been there before, then you can identify with that. If you're on the road to recovery and you're letting go of being dependent, then you are now moving into the place of independent, not dependent upon. And that means that in your power, you can stand alone. You don't require a relationship. You don't require shiny objects. You don't require credit. There's many situations that you learn to let go of because the pleasure isn't worth the pain. And as you start to step into this power, you can let go of the instant gratification that the ego craves. The ego craves that instant gratification. They want it right now. And as you have a better understanding of that, you'll be much more willing to let go of this instant gratification and be willing to pay the price one day at a time over a long career. And as you learn to let go, it's an amazing, liberating experience. It can't be explained until it's experienced. If you live in your left brain, your analytical egoic mind, processing, thinking, and analyzing, then you'll live in the this doesn't make sense, I don't understand, I don't get it routine that so much of society lives in. When you let go of the analytical egoic mind, processing, thinking, rationalizing, and making sense, and you learn to trust yourself, trusting yourself and trusting God allows you to be independent. As you learn to hear your inner voice, as you learn to trust that you're not dependent on other people, you won't have the same tendencies to seek recognition or rewards from other people. You'll be absolutely at peace without them. The lower self, the ego, craves recognition and reward. Babies cry for it, men die for it, medals, valor, championships, Super Bowls, major league titles, a multitude of situations. It's part of the competitive spirit. Win at all cost. It's the duality, black, white, right, wrong, good, bad. In consciousness, you don't access that anymore because you're not playing. You're not even playing. You're in the game of life. And you're not even playing it. You're doing your best to be your best. You stop competing in a way that's unhealthy, and you're not driven by the recognition game. And you're able to be relaxed with production and results on your own terms. You're not craving the rewards. You're not out to win the trips. You're not doing it for someone else, for recognition. You're in a day, one day at a time, for yourself and others, where you're giving value and service in a different space without seeking recognition or reward because you're independent. When you're dependent upon those looks and likes, when you're dependent on that instant gratification, it's easy to compromise your integrity. It's easy to over-obligate yourself and enable yourself. And as you have a better understanding of what the term codependent means, enable, over-obligate, do more for others from places that's unhealthy, doing situations for others for recognition, doing more for others to fulfill your own low self-esteem. Now, that doesn't mean you let go of hand up, but you're not offering the hand out as frequently. You're not trying to control people or control the outcome because you're dependent upon that recognition. You're dependent upon those rewards, that instant gratification. That's why food, alcohol, a purchase, pornography, a multitude of situations. This is why purging and binging also falls into that category, because it's the instant gratification and then the satisfaction you get when you have been in that situation. Then it's the shame that follows it. It's instant gratification, the instant feeling of and then the shame that follows that. When you are so done with this, when you're in a place of letting go, you will no longer ride this emotional roller coaster, the cardio cocktail, the up, the down staircase of anxiety, fear, and doubt. You'll begin to access the courage to let go. You'll stay in a let go space much more frequently. Your communication style can change in the way you communicate with the world, but especially yourself. You'll be more committed to the process, and you'll breathe, release, and let go. I coached a woman today who I asked her how long it's been since she's been to a meeting. She told me she hadn't been to a meeting for a couple of weeks, and she's going this afternoon. That is awesome, because she absolutely deserves to be in that culture, breathing, releasing, and letting go. The more that you understand the value of a breath, you'll take more of them. The more you understand the value of letting go, you'll practice the skill of it. Letting go it's a skill where you don't take situations personally as frequently. You're not looking to be disappointed. You're not going out of your way to find flaws in others and yourself. You spend less time in conflict because the pleasure isn't worth the pain. You're able to easily and effortlessly let people go without feeling rejected and abandoned. I mean, this is evolution. It means you've crossed the bridge. You've crossed the bridge from anxiety, fear, and doubt, accessing courage as a quality. Courage isn't an emotion. It's a quality you can access. And you access your courage to address the stories you tell yourself, the fear you hold on to, the worry about the outcome that hasn't happened, so you can be and stay present. Now, Matt says, I'm embracing the freedom from codependent attachments in romantic and professional relationships. I can't read the rest of what he said, but he's right down the middle. When you are not dependent, you can go long stretches without relationships, without intimate relationships, because you become so comfortable with yourself, you're not dependent on other relationships. And as you start to develop that love for self, as you start to develop your self-esteem, then the relationships you begin to attract are much healthier. It'll be your teammates, your customers, your clients. They'll begin to show up differently. If you're mating, dating, you'll be able to let people go quickly because you see the trauma bonds and panic patterns. And as you move toward more intimacy, you'll attract relationships that are healthier as you let go of being codependent, overwhelmed, in toxic trauma, drama, narcissistic patterns of behavior that would keep you in an overwhelmed state of anxiety, fear, and doubt. My name is Jeffery Combs. I am the president and founder of Golden Mastermind Seminars Incorporated. John Morgan, good to see you. Jennifer, good to see you. Good to see all of you here on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Millionaire Blueprint, if you're a coaching client, is right around the corner. July 14th and 15th, that is a Friday and a Saturday. That event is reserved for 25 people. We are halfway to our number there, so if you would like to attend that event, I will be posting the link to sign up for that event. It's for coaching clients, July 14th and 15th in Stockton, California, and it is the only time, at least at present, that I will be speaking this year. Now, factor that I used to speak 45 to 50 times a year. Matt Smith has seen me speak over 50 times, so that will be the only time this year, July 14th and 15th. Thank you very much for being here this afternoon. Heather, thank you for that great compliment. Breathe, release, and let go. I'll be back here tonight at 9 p.m. Pacific. Have a great afternoon.